And for me, it's great to be back at Brooks City Base. I was here a couple of years ago for one of the multitude of many openings that we've had at this location. And driving through here, it's fascinating to see the way that you all continue to accelerate the process of the economic development that you're bringing just to this one location in San Antonio. And it's projects like this that help San Antonio truly be a national leader in construction. A very important fact is that San Antonio is one of the few cities in America that actually increased construction employment during the year of COVID. San Antonio business is known in part for big projects like what we have here at this particular location at Brooks City Base. It's also known in part for large, well-known businesses like USAA or Toyota, or other businesses that the governor's office was involved in bringing here, like Boeing, Navistar, the Pentagon Fed Credit Union. Continues that companies that continue to grow here and expand here, and more importantly, hire additional employees to expand the job force here. But one thing that we also recognize is that the cornerstone of our economic success in San Antonio and in the state of Texas are our small businesses. 9 in 10 businesses in Texas are small businesses. About half of all employees in Texas work for small businesses. So our goal today is to ensure that ongoing success is going to be achieved by businesses both large and small. And we're working on strategies to do that by doing things like fostering an environment that help businesses succeed, as well as promoting strategies that will create more jobs. Now, one thing that we've already begun to work on is fashioning some legislative proposals that we will be rolling out in Austin, Texas in the coming weeks. We talked about these proposals here today, as well as some other ideas that were generated as we had a discussion across the room. One is this reality, and that is business owners, including the men and women that you see in this room today, they have gone above and beyond to open and to operate safely during the course of the pandemic. And yet, those same businesses, they face the threat of potential lawsuits for the fact that they opened up. Texas businesses and employees that have operated in good faith shouldn't have their livelihoods destroyed by frivolous lawsuits. To protect these businesses, I'm working with the legislature on a bill that provides civil liability protections for both individuals and businesses that operated in good faith during the course of the pandemic. Another thing that we want to continue to do is to cut regulations. Now, we all know that Texas prides itself on having low and reasonable regulations, but sometimes red tape still gets in the way. One thing that we did over the course of the pandemic is that we suspended a number of regulations. One example would be alcohol to go. Some of those ideas are worth keeping by putting into statutes in the state of Texas. So I'm asking the legislature to review the regulations suspended during the course of the pandemic so that we can cut unnecessary red tape and unleash the full might of the Texas economy. Now, another thing that the pandemic has taught us is that broadband access is not a luxury. It is an essential tool for businesses, for education, as well as for accessing health care. We must use this session to ensure that every zip code in the state of Texas has access to broadband access. Now, as we discuss things around the room, I'm going to mention a couple of topics that came up that I will be following up on that will also help us move forward to create more jobs and to expand the economy in an even more robust way. Leo mentioned about expanding the use of opportunity zones. he said that this area that we're on right now is an opportunity zone. Is that right?
Correct.
And this is something hugely important, and it provides an opportunity for businesses and developers to capitalize on the opportunities provided by the Opportunity Zone. And I look forward to working with you as well as others to expand the use of Opportunity Zones in Texas so that we can replicate the success of what you've been able to achieve here. Another thing that we talked about is working to continue to expand what the state of Texas is already doing, and that is providing COVID tests on job sites so that employers and employees can know in 15 minutes whether or not anybody in the workforce at a job site has COVID, so they can take the appropriate action that is needed. We did make announcements earlier this week as well as last week about the state of Texas working with chambers of commerce as well as other business entities to make sure that employers will have access, especially small business employers, will have access to these rapid test COVID tests. Something else that was referenced that I'm keenly interested in, and that is finding a way to reduce the time that leads to delays because of the permitting process. Bottom line, I want to streamline the permitting process across all sectors so that businesses will be able to get projects done a lot faster. When it comes to projects, time is money, and we want to make sure that projects get done faster so that businesses are going to be able to capitalize on their opportunities a whole lot quicker. Two more things, and that is something else Leo brought up, and that is keep using the Texas Enterprise Fund to continue to attract businesses to the state of Texas. And we will continue to do that because there are so many businesses in the United States and globally that are interested in relocating in the state of Texas. I'll let them know that every year that I've been governor, Texas has won the Governor's Cup as the #1 state in America for the most new jobs created because of economic development. And believe it or not, that just continued and even accelerated during 2020, during a time of COVID. And as we speak today, the state of Texas has more than 200 projects in our pipeline about economic development going forward. And then another thing that was discussed today across the board, and that is the necessity to continue to build a high-quality workforce. The reason why I say continue is because every single time that I talk to a CEO that's made the decision to relocate to the state of Texas, I ask them, why is it that you're coming to the state of Texas? And yes, they always include things like you have lower taxes, you have better regulations, but really the thing that stands out the most of what they tell me is the workforce in Texas is better than it is in other states. That is what I call a good start. I think we can all agree we need to continue to do more to make sure that we provide the skilled training that's needed in the multitude of jobs that either are or will be becoming available. Bottom line is this: despite challenges that we faced over the past year, Texas truly does remain the economic engine for the United States of America. If you go back in time, this month last year, Texas was the jobs leader in the United States of America because of employers like what we have around the table today. And what I can tell you is that this time next year, Texas will continue to be the jobs leader in the United States. By working together with the legislature, and by the way, we happen to be in the legislative district of Liz Campos, who is right here. Congratulations to you on your election. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the host representative for this event today. But by working with the legislature and with business leaders, of which she is one also, as well as workers across the state, we will build a more prosperous future for all Texans. And now I would like Leo Gomez to share a few words.
Thank you. I want to add my thanks to everyone who joined us here. Those of you that are guests to Brooks, those of you that have invested with your time, resources, and companies in building here at Brooks. Governor, we have indeed continued to build through the COVID crisis into that last inning of this COVID crisis that we have, so that when we get through it, we're ready to start hiring. Right, Stanislaus? Our companies are ready to start hiring because the construction industry delivered. And so we're thrilled to have done so. I really appreciate the governor's efforts to making sure that we do the things to continue to build business in Texas. Texas has indeed been the superstar in attracting companies, not only from around the country, but as you said, from around the world. We got a number of them right here at Brooks, and we're looking forward to having a few more of them. It is music to my ears that we will continue to invest in the Texas Enterprise Fund. I urge you to continue with the foreign direct investment efforts by your Secretary of State to sell Texas and then bring you in when they need you to seal the deal. But the more we work to bring companies to Texas, the more work we have for our construction companies. And I appreciate your efforts and your focus on this particular industry and coming to Brooks to highlight it. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. This was handed to me. Is this mic not working?
No, it is working. It's just to get audio for one of the outlets.
Got it. Okay.
It's fine. I'm working wireless, so that's I'm not hooked it up.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Well, we have comments from one more person, and then we'll do questions and answers. We have Joshua Circus.
Thank you, Governor. I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us all. It's been very enlightening. We all touched on some of the issues that have been affecting us. Luckily, the construction industry has had minimal interruption. We've been able to stay open with your help, and so thank you for that. So all that we ask is do all you can to allow us to work and do what we do best, and keep the projects coming because we're eager to keep building. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I will say that what he just said right there was echoed, I think, by every single person in the room, and that is the importance of keeping businesses open. They were able to operate very safely, very effectively, and contribute very substantively to the Texas economy. Coming to you first.
Governor, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that. In San Antonio, we have hundreds of thousands of people who qualify to get the vaccine, but they cannot get it. They cannot make the appointment. There's just too little vaccine out there. What are you doing to fix that?
So we're asking the federal government for more vaccines. I've heard that Texas is not receiving its sufficient per capita allotment of vaccines, and we want to make sure that we are getting more vaccines to the state of Texas. But even that point aside, the United States of America has a limit on the number of vaccines that are available. Moderna and Pfizer can manufacture only so much. And once they are manufactured and sent to the state of Texas, the state of Texas is showing that we have strategies in place that are quite effective and efficient in administering those vaccines, because Texas is one of the leaders on a per capita basis about administering those vaccines. We do have good news on the horizon when Dr. Fauci indicated that we can expect an additional vaccine becoming available in a matter of weeks. It's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that requires one shot, not two shots. When we do get those vaccines, we believe that the number of vaccines will increase dramatically, and we will be able to finish Category 1B of the vaccination regimen and then go to Category 1C very quickly.
Now, just a quick follow-up with that. These mega sites where we have people getting vaccinated here in San Antonio, there are a lot of disabled people that have great difficulty getting there. Is there any thought to getting more vaccine to some of the smaller pharmacies, the mom-and-pop shops that people can get to?
There are a couple of things about that with regard to the current vaccines that are available. I'm going to use your characterization. The mom-and-pop shops typically would not be capable of handling the Pfizer vaccine that requires the ultra-cold storage. One reason why those are located at these mass locations is because the mass locations are able to maintain that cold storage. The second thing is we do want to make sure that every last, when you start dipping into a vaccine vial, you want to make sure that every last vaccine is going to be used. So every provider that receives the vaccines, they have to have strategies to make sure they will be able to use every last vaccine. We have several strategies to make sure we will achieve the concerns that you raise. One is that we are increasing the number of providers who will be able to provide those vaccines to others. But second, we are forming some mobile units to go into underserved areas to make sure those underserved areas will be able to receive their share of the vaccines.
What is the correlation that you can make between the vaccination programs, the vaccination of people, and the continuous economic development in the state? The correlation.
Well, the continued economic development in the state of Texas began long before the vaccines even became available. One reason for the continued economic development is because businesses in other states realized that they no longer needed to remain in those other states that were hostile to businesses. And a better place to go to was a state that was accommodating of those businesses, a state that does have lower taxes, a state that does have more reasonable regulations, a state that actually wants those businesses here, and a state that finds ways to interconnect those businesses with the Texas economy. And it's because of those reasons that even before the vaccines became available, Texas was landing projects like the Tesla Gigafactory, like the relocation of the Oracle headquarters, or the Hewlett-Packard Enterprise headquarters, or the Charles Schwab headquarters, and the list goes on and on and on. And so businesses across the globe are realizing the best state for doing business is the Lone Star State.
But we did a pandemic right now.
I have a question about vaccines. Can I ask another question
Sure.
about vaccines? As we understand that county health officials, healthcare providers are not refusing anyone the vaccine based on residency. But we are hearing some concerns from our border counties, even Bexar County, which is only a few hours from the border, that also includes Mexico. So do you have any protocols in place, or are you going to put any in place that ensures the vaccines that are coming to Texas are reserved for Texas residents?
So we do, and these are CDC-based standards, if I recall correctly, and that is U.S. vaccines are for U.S. residents. Texas vaccines are for Texas residents. And it is true that you could be from Comal County and come to Bexar County and get a vaccine, and that's just the way the process works. But you must be a Texas resident to receive a vaccine in Texas.
Governor, you've been mentioning business, sir, but you've been talking a lot about bringing in new business. Right now, we have a lot of businesses in the area that are hemorrhaging gas.
I'm sorry, the businesses that are what? Hemorrhaging?
Hemorrhaging gas. Right now,
Right.
they don't have the income coming in. Business has gone down. And there's been a lot of demand for local grants. But the supply from the local governments, both the city and the county, has been far outpaced by that demand, especially with food and beverage companies. I wanted to know, is the state willing to put some of that money towards helping out those small existing businesses that are struggling, perhaps using the rainy day fund or other state or federal dollars?
Well, a couple of things. One is you probably know, it seems like you do know because of the way you said it, the way that the Federal CARES Act funding worked, and that is separate allocations were made to large counties like Bexar, to large cities like San Antonio, that had both the obligation and the ability to set aside funding for those projects. In addition to that, you may recall there was a second round of funding at the end of the year in December, where the reconciliation process added additional funding that has not yet been received that could be used for that possibility. And then third, you probably are aware that under the Biden administration, they are talking about funding those types of projects. Bottom line is through multiple avenues, there could be additional funding available. That said, the one thing that I know from talking to business leaders across the state of Texas, what they want more than a PPP loan or something like that, they want to be opened up. And my goal is to get these businesses opened up as quickly as possible, get them back to business, and open their doors for customers.
Great. Thank you all so much for coming. You'll please walk forward.
I can ask just one more thing. How do you
Thank
feel about
you.
the Biden administration?
Oh, sorry, no, president.
I got you.
Great, thank you.